Good morning, Springfield. Whoa, a little loud there, buddy. Good morning. I'm so glad that you joined me. I'm Steve McAllister, and this is Summer Linings. And yes, I'm live. I may sound a little funny today, but you know that's what colds do to you. Last week was a real bummer, but I'm back, and now it sounds real good. I'm doing good. Thank you, Matt. So it's been a real um, interesting week, Matt. Uh, um, Sick wise, but hey, I'm doing a lot better than I was a week ago.
I tell you what, everybody is catching that stuff.
I'm telling you what.
Everybody, I've had it, you've had it, Barney's had it. Everybody I know has had this stuff.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's because of me.
No, you have nothing to do with it. At least not right this time. You don't.
I had it, and I'm still fighting the sinus thing in my head.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and so it sounds really funny. So
3 weeks I've had this sinus thing.
So in a microphone, it sounds really tinny. It sounds really funny, but I'm doing a lot better than I was.
Good.
So I just appreciate your prayers. And one thing caught me. This is pretty funny. I don't know if anybody yesterday caught the the test that was going on through everybody's phone was going off. But you kid me, it was the Batmobile or something, the Joker.
I was mad. I was trying to figure out how to delete that off of my phone.
What in the world? I've never had that. What was that all about?
Apparently, it's a mobile alert system that you cannot get rid of.
Man, I've never had that happen. I was like,
override your phone and jump it on the front, and you get that. It scared the crap out of me.
It did me too, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh no, poor thing. I didn't catch it right away, and I'm like, oh no, not another Amber Alert. And I looked again.
They said they were looking for the Batmobile.
Yes.
I was like, what is this? That's funny. Anyways, so tell us about your guest today.
Well, we have a very interesting guest. He's been on the Amazon book list now for a while, and he's sold quite a bit. He's only sold 13 books, but hey, for not being on long, that's a lot of books. And I'm proud of him because he's been a friend of mine for 11 years now, and he's quite a leader. He's a leader in his own right, and I want to introduce to everyone my buddy and friend and soon and now author Michael Miller. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hey, Steve, doing great. I think 11 years makes me sound old, though, so we might want to keep that on the down low.
Hey, you haven't changed a bit.
That's actually a good thing. I just call that grace.
Did you hear Matt? I'm old too, so I'm older.
Huh? What? I can't hear you.
The Pappy Steve thing.
Oh yeah.
That's another story in itself. We won't go into that story quite yet. Anyway, is that a Christmas tree in the background?
Yes, it is. Christmas is one of my favorite times of year because as I was growing up, my dad absolutely loved Christmas. And it kind of reminds me of him. And sometimes I just need to keep a reminder that where he is at.
Oh, that's cool. A friend of mine, she actually has Christmas tree in her office all year round, and she has Christmas lights in her office all year round. And I'm like, really? And she says, well, that I like things bright and cheery, and I just like to be bright and cheery towards people, and having Christmas lights and Christmas tree in my office makes me feel that way. And I was like, man, that is awesome. So I'm thinking about doing that.
That's great. And it's amazing that you picked up on that. And it's amazing that in your own right, she respected and trusted you enough to tell you about it. So that's part of leadership, and that's part of who you are too.
Yeah, she. I'm not going to go into her story necessarily, but she went through a lot. And I think that by her doing what she's doing with the Christmas tree and the Christmas tree lights, that shows people who she is and what she's all about, and how she can compare or contribute to other people to make them feel good. So, and well, with your story, man, you've had a lot going on, beside your book and everything. But your book says a lot about you too, as far as your personal life and your business life, and then even with your friendship with Travis. And
Hmm.
we're going to get into that. So, well, what made you? Now, I know that the first time you were on the show, you talked about not I leadership, but we didn't have a whole lot of time to talk about it. But you revised it since then. What made you revise it?
So yeah, 2 years ago, pre-COVID, um, went to work for Fritz's Adventure, a indoor theme park in Branson, Missouri, and that's because of my friendship with Travis. Travis is one of these guys that is a natural leader. He motivates people through a personal connection, and I really got involved with that with one of our hiking trips that you will actually read about in chapter 13 of the book. So to not spoil the ending, but to give you a synopsis of it, Travis acted on grace, but used his abilities to create a positive environment for something that I had a weakness over on our camping trip. So a couple of years ago, we went out to the Buffalo River with a group of guys to go camping. We were going to hike 21 miles in 3 days, and which is about 5 miles the first day, about 9 to 10 miles the second day, and then the way out was going to be a shorter trip. And on the first day, everything was going smooth. We hiked down into a holler, set up camp. It was about 5.5, 6 miles into the trip, and we made supper. We made all kinds of different things. We cracked jokes because we're a bunch of guys, and
A
we
guy
just
thing.
had a great time. And we went to bed that night. We went to sleep. We slept, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours. I didn't wear a watch, so because I was on a camping trip. And so we slept a few hours. We got up the next day, had breakfast, and packed up and started going into the next hike. Um, Now, that's where this limitation is being displayed because about 2.5 miles into a 10-mile hike, I started to not be able to breathe. I wasn't being able to keep up with the rest of the group. I was slowing them down. So I decided to go ahead and head back to the original campsite to uh, to just wait out the last 2 days and let them bring my car around to pick me up. Well, that's where the story began. Not the That was not the end. Because of Travis and his motivation, he hiked 17.1 miles that day, went and got my car, and we came home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's the kind of person, that's the kind of leader that I want to follow. Somebody that's going to go the extra miles, go the extra steps, push the limit to benefit somebody else, which is exactly what the gospel teaches us. The gospel of Jesus Christ is absolutely 100% the best motivational story on earth. And I can honestly say that because I didn't just read about it, I lived it. Because my friend went the extra miles to come back and get me so that we could still enjoy the trip. Um, what Jesus did by coming to earth, he came, and I like to say this, I don't know any numbers between us and heaven, but 17.1 million miles to come down to earth from a heavenly place, become human, take away our sins, motivate us to share his righteousness that he gave us so that we could benefit others. And I mean, look at the story with Mary and Martha. They went to the tomb. And where did Jesus show up? He showed up down the road. He went
Right.
to them. And then they went and told Peter. Peter ran back and said, the tomb is empty. Oh my gosh. What did Jesus do when Peter messed up and denied him 3 times? He went to him. He asked him, do you love me, Peter? Peter said yes 3 times. Jesus convicted him, but the conviction changed Peter, transformed Peter into the man that we saw after the Holy Spirit came upon him. He was confident. He was able to do the abilities that Jesus gave him. And anybody has that ability to do that. But leaders have a unique ability to do that. People that have a title and a job place can actually use that influence to uplift others. And we can learn that from the gospel example. We can learn that from the people living out the gospel example. That is why I revised the book. I put a prelude at the beginning of it, and I will read a short synopsis to you that
Oh, good.
that when you open
That's
the
what
book,
my next question
this
was.
is what you're going to see. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph of it, but it really just hits home what you guys are wanting to hear. The gospel tells us in 1 Corinthians 13:13 that faith, hope, and love abide in these, but the greatest of these is love. Jesus tells us without faith it is impossible to please God. Hebrews 11:6, but I have learned the greatest motivator is what comes from belief that God exists through faith, so I love others just as God commanded. Because when you have faith that God exists, you have hope that all things work together for good for those who love God. Romans 8:28. When you love others, they are motivated to share love with others because they find hope. The people, find hope. Find the truth will set them free. They learn helping others brings love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control, which are obtained, shareable, and gives hope to those who receive it. That is the very first paragraph of the book, and that you have a link of that you can go to Amazon to order a copy of. But that is why I wrote the book. God is the
Wow.
main motivator of the story. He is the one who taught us how to live right actions lives, which is the definition of righteousness. Not only did he give us the ability to become righteous, he actually took the steps to do it. He came to us. He wanted the personal relationship with us. He created it. He created our existence because he wanted us to be a part of his family. And that's what we get to share with anybody. Now, I work for Fritz's Adventures. I get to lead a group of people that I get to work with on a continuous basis. Fritz's Adventures has a mission, a vision, and a value system. The mission is for us to create wow moments. If we empower our employees, they're going to empower our guests to have a good time. We have a vision to be the number one guest experience attraction in the world. The only thing that's greater than that is really the gospel message of sharing the gospel 100% of the time. But we have a goal to obtain. And for our values, and we strive for excellence. We keep getting better. We want to get better. We grow from all of our mistakes that we humbly share with each other. We hold each other accountable. And we want to succeed in our mission because we want to help people have a good time in our organization. We desire to trust one another, that because with trust we get the job done. That's what we do. Getting the job done means our guests get to have an amazing time within our facility, and we take ownership of that, that if there is a conflict we can start the resolution process. It's the exact same thing that we got from the gospel message. Jesus' mission was to come down here so we could have a personal relationship with our Heavenly Father. He had a vision to help others love God with all their heart, soul, and mind, and to love people. And then his values are right there on the pages of Ephesians 5, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self control. These are the values that we get to show somebody who is struggling, who is making mistakes. Steve, are you perfect? Do you get to make mistakes?
No, I don't. No, not me. No, I was just going to say, so you're actually sharing and you're witnessing to these people, and they don't even know it. And maybe sometimes they do, especially if they're other Christians. They're like, "Wow, maybe they might not be able to compare." But I'm telling you, it sounds like to me like you're sharing the gospel without even really opening up a Bible. Now, has anybody ever really come to you personally and said, "What is it exactly? How come you're acting like this?" Or has there been anybody like written in and said anything considering the Bible or?
I haven't had any personal conversations about the gospel, but I do get to live out the mission of it through my actions. So,
Okay,
but everybody recognizes that our organization, my leadership, different things are different. I've had coworkers. We've had conversations with coworkers that talks about the gospel, and
right,
they just know that I'm a believer, and
right.
they gave us the opportunity to talk to them about it while we're at work. They get motivated, they get strengthened by it, they gain joy knowing that they're part of something bigger. So
That's really
not
cool.
the guest, but but the guest receives the benefits that we have to offer, which is our character, our personalities, and in case of Fritz's, a opportunity to forget their sorrows that for a day, while they are within our walls. And the same goes true for the gospel. Everybody who draws closer to the Lord experiences joy because of the love they receive from Him, plus the love that they get to give out to others.
That's amazing. There's a lot of different places in Branson that they're Christian oriented, and like I used to work for a place in Branson that they had Christian values and everything. And of course, let out a if anybody let out a bad word or there was any kind of um, um, bad thing going on, they would just say, "Hey, this is your first warning," and they would give them only one warning, and if they did it again, they were gone, they were out. And it's just because they a lot of these places hold Christian values, and that's what this I really love about Branson is they hold Christian values. Not only is it freedom and faith, faith is a big thing here, and I like what they do here in the theaters as well as the attractions. They hold faith very dear, and that's really cool that Fritz's does that.
Absolutely, that's the part of our culture. That's part of what makes us unique. Um, Of course, we are an indoor theme park where everybody gets to come in and have a good time. But it's also our mission to help them succeed at that. Um, Part of that is our belief that people do need to have distractions, especially in the world that we live in right now. I just looked outside. It's cloudy outside. I don't know about you, but I always feel more energetic when the sun is out. But it's a cloudy day right now. It's nasty.
A
And
cloudy
but
day
if you
means a
talk about
cloudy.
snow, but you know what? I like snow. I just don't like the temperature that it needs to be to have it here.
Right. I'll take the
But I'm
temperature,
not
but it doesn't mean need to be. It doesn't mean it needs to be cloudy.
you know what? I want a silver lining. I don't want to have a cloudy day.
Amen. I'll take a silver
Amen.
lining any day, especially the last week. I'll take a silver lining any day.
But it really
So,
just comes down to how do you want to lead? Do you want to be somebody that motivates people, or do you want to be somebody that creates fear? Now, both of them are motivational tools. Fear is going to sway somebody from making a drastic decision that could affect them and where they're at. But positive motivation, positive reinforcement is actually a better solution because I would much rather talk to somebody that did the curse word because I want to find out what the root of the problem is so that a solution can be created from the listening to help them move past it. That's part of positive reinforcement. You're going to be able to build hope because somebody shows a caring heart as opposed to saying one more time and you're out. Now there are going to be times that you have to use the one more time or you're out method, but I would say you would need to use that as a last resort. You don't want to create fear in an area that you want to influence somebody's life. Fear creates the fight or flight response. Well, who's going to fight at work? They're going to actually flee flee the area, and they're going to find something different. And so I said, Fritz's Adventure want to create that culture that we don't want you to run away. We want to help you fight through it. We want you to be motivated to make that change. I mean,
right.
myself, and I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. I was born into a family with a Vietnam veteran who served 2 terms in Vietnam. I learned how to get angry really well. It took me until probably the last year to finally realize how to apply God's grace to it and receive healing over it. So now I get to share that part of me with somebody that has anger problems. And my story relates to them. God gave me the tools to help them be successful because of His grace.
Hmm.
The next part is I've never had a leadership role in any job ever before Fritz's Adventure. I almost got one before coming here, but I decided to come to Fritz's because of my relationship with my friend. And so that's where that journey started. A year later, I got asked to join the leadership team. Well, guess what started to happen? I started to feel disrespected. I started to get angry. And as I like to say, Hulk smash came out. So I and my friend didn't say, "Hey, I see this happening, and one more time and you're out." He actually came alongside me and said, "I'm afraid that you might start influencing people negatively." Well, was that grace? Yes, that was
Yeah.
great. Being applied to an area that I had a weakness in. Just like he walked those 17.1 miles because I couldn't hike uphill for 10 miles, that grace came out again. And that was actually the first example of it. And so grace is the greatest life change that we can offer to people that struggle, that want to become leaders themselves or just become a person that has a high performance. High performers always want to change, they want to get better. Um,
Right.
and we actually develop a model that helps with that. So,
Wow. That's a motivational speech or motivation right there. For people who are struggling with something like that, that's motivation just to keep on going. And with me, with that one more time and you're out, that happened like 20 years ago. So I don't know what their it still exists today. The outfit still exists, but I don't know what their rules and regulations are now. But I assume there's they're still the same, but I don't know what the rules and regulations are. But back then it was like that. But I see and I hear what you're saying. One time you're out, that kind of spins a negative on that person. Like, man, they didn't give me much of a chance. And then they know that if they mess up one more time, so there's sometimes they mess up one more time just to get out of it. They don't
mhm.
get that chance to have what you did and have somebody come alongside you, put their arm around you, and say, "Hey, let's change this negative attitude. Let's see what we can do to change it."
Absolutely. And it just happened to be somebody with a title at my job. But the gospel shows examples of people without titles. They had maybe a title of fisherman, but they didn't have a title of that influenced people. And they had a title of, hey, I'm just going to go to work and go home and feed my family. But now, because of my friend's example, because of Jesus's example, primarily in my life, um, I actually get to live out that gospel message. And whether I'm using my words to say it or not, my actions will. They
Hmm.
say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I'm willing to bet that actions are worth 10,000 because people can see that you mean business, that you are motivated to be successful, that you are a high performer, but they see that you care too. That you come alongside them to show them that you care for their success. You want them to succeed. They that will help them grow. That helps you grow. I mean, my word, I didn't have a reason to change my heart or transform it before I had the opportunity to receive grace for it. Jesus revealed that to me, and now I get to struggle through something different, which is great. But when I get to the other side, I'm going to have another example to share with somebody else. And that's the
Right.
nature of the gospel. We use our influence, our life story to be able to help somebody else succeed. And we get
Yeah.
to do that day in and day out. I mean, Steve is my one of my greatest friends of all time, and I'm looking at the time, Steve, so I know I've only got a few minutes, so I'll wrap it up.
Oh, no, no, you're fine. You're fine right now. We've got a few minutes. You're
Cool.
good.
You're one of my greatest friends because I know your story. You've trusted me with it. You tell it, you ask for prayer. You say but you stay positive 100% of the time. I don't think I've ever seen you have a bad day. And I'm like, why is that different? Why is that different? No, I know you have them, but I always see a smile on your face. And that's the difference. And the joy of the
Yeah.
Lord is your strength. And that's what
Amen.
motivates.
Yeah, we have. I try to hide it as much as I can, but there are days where I just can't hide it, and Rachel knows it, and the people know it, and they're like, "Man, we've never seen you frown before. What's up? You're always smiling." And even though I've been sick, I'm still smiling. They're like, "How can you smile?" I'm like, "You know what? I know God's in this. I know there's a purpose behind it, and you know what? There's nothing. I'm not going to be sad about it because I know eventually I'm going to get well. Either way, I'm going to get well."
That's right. That's right. That's the hope. And you know what? I had COVID for, well, I had quarantined for 10 days. I think I had it for two, but I slept 12 hours the day that I came home. And I was like, oh, I guess I needed some sleep. And then I slept about 10 hours each night after that. And I felt great. But I had a hope the whole time that I was at home because my friends reached out to me. My grocery store brought me groceries. They let me buy it over the phone and they brought it to me. I have family, my church family brought me meals. I had like four different Thanksgiving dinners over Christmas, which was amazing. About food. And so, but the
You had
love
turkey
of
coming out
things
your
here
ears?
just do what?
You had turkey coming out your ears?
Nope. I had turkey for days though, and I ate it all. It was delicious.
Cranberry
And I'm like,
sauce.
that love that makes me want to love others. That's the love that Christ gave to us. He gives people to us to love them, to help motivate us to love others as well.
Yeah, that's really good. When you have a church family that comes behind you and that shows a lot of love and compassion and somebody who a group of people that care for you and a church that cares for you and the church that you go to really does care for you. FBC, they really do care.
Hmm. And that's the
And
message that I bring about in my book, Not I Leadership. You see the link on the screen right there that'll take you straight over to the author page on Amazon. You can order the book through Kindle or through paperback or through hardback. And if you'd like to or get a signed copy, I live in Branson, Missouri. So more than happy to do that. I don't have many scheduled book signings as of yet.
oh,
Maybe one day
that's
I
coming.
will. Maybe one day. And so, if you guys would like a book copy, you'll be able to see it. You can get that right there at that link.
Well, I want a signed copy.
Absolutely.
Well,
So,
even the revised version, I'd still like a signed copy so that I can spread joy wherever I go, and that'll help me for sure spread joy.
thank you. I
And
appreciate that.
man, it's been great. I really enjoyed this again, Michael. I plan on having you on when you're selling a million sell. You know, you're a million seller. You're on the New York's bestseller list, and well, no, I'll have you on before then.
Yeah,
But
that might take
I
a
know
while.
what was that?
That might take a while.
But you know what? You're gonna get there. I know that I've had friends that said, "Oh well, I've got this measly little book." Well, the measly little book ended up being on a New York bestseller, and so you never know what could happen. But if the Lord's behind it and He's gonna honor it, that could happen. And with the motivation behind that book that you've got, that's where the Lord, if the Lord wills it, He's gonna He's gonna move it along, and with your motivation, He's gonna make it happen. And
Thank you.
even if it doesn't happen, and you're still who you are, you know what? The Lord's gonna bless you anyway. I know He
He already
is.
has. One day at a time.
Yep.
I see him
So
more every day.
are you gonna keep that Christmas tree up now?
I'll take it down. I just
Oh,
really need to see. I really
okay.
need to
So,
experience my dad just a little bit longer this year.
but you needed to have a background for today's. I get it. You had to have a background for today's interview, so I get it, and that's good. Other than just a plain background.
Yeah, it does bring
So,
about characters. Sure, I might just leave it up for some color in my room.
okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Michael. And who knows? I'll probably see you later on, or I'll talk to you later on today.
That's all amazing. Look forward to talking to you again, my friend.
All right. You too. Take care. Wow, what an amazing! That was an amazing journey through his book, I Leadership. You ought to get his book. I can see if I can get a book. Even without Amazon, I can see if he's got some extra copies. If you're interested, Matt,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I think
It
I
needs to be
think
an
I
audiobook now.
I think Pastor might be interested. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, it was really good to be back here. I really enjoyed being back at in the saddles, so to speak. I missed everybody, and we hope to take care. We hope to have you take care of yourselves. God bless you. God loves you. So do I. And we'll see you next week. And stay tuned now for Changing Times with Lynn Morris and Don Blackard.